Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and a new paper crafting video. Today I'm sharing with you 7 ways to use silhouette dies. We're going to be making 4 different cards using these methods, and a silhouette die is a die that cuts out a shape. In this case, dinosaurs. I'm using the Petite Prehistoric Pals die set from Trinity Stamps. I'm going to cut a bunch of these out. They're super cute. I just think that these are really fun shapes, but you can do today's projects with pretty much any silhouette type die that is of a similar size, or even maybe smaller and even maybe bigger, depending on the scale of the card you're going to use and the project that you're going to make. So here they are die cut out, and I have used some craft paper here that's pretty sturdy, but also is not a fan of my yellow tape. But we'll work on that. We'll work through that. So there's my die cut pieces. I'm going to use those pieces on card number 1. I'm going to glue them down and create a faux dry emboss look. Now you can see the paper that I'm gluing these down onto is the same color paper that I used to die cut them out. So I went ahead and glued all 8 of those down, but needed a few more to really fill this in and make my background. So now it looks like something that maybe has been run through an embossing folder. So there are these raised up images on the same color of cardstock. I trimmed off the excess, and then I was able to use some of those little pieces on the edge to make this look like it was cut from a bigger piece. Okay, so now I'm going to make a card with this background, and I'm starting by splattering it with some Distress Oxide spray stain. It is the Salty Ocean was the first color I used, and now here's Worn Lipstick. I let the first color dry most of the way before I added the second color, so they wouldn't get a lot of mixing of the 2 colors. And then I wanted some white. So once the pink dried, I brought in my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, added some water to it to make it more splattery, and then used a paintbrush just to splatter that right on my background. Now I tend to put a lot of splatter, and I always say, because I'm going to put stuff on top of this background, a lot of it's going to be covered up, so it's okay to put a little more than you think, unless you just like a little. Okay, the next thing we're going to do with these dies is make cookies. I thought these would make the cutest circus cookies. You know, the animal cookies that are covered in pink and white icing with sprinkles on them. So I cut these from some craft foam or fun foam. And then I have these sprinkles here from Trinity Stamps. They're called sugar pop beads. And then I'm using this mix that has all those kind of colors that circus cookies have. My kiddo recently had a party at the house with just friends over, and they all brought snacks, and somebody brought circus cookies. So I had seen these in my house recently when I hadn't really thought about them in a long time, and I just thought these dies would make the cutest circus cookies, even though they're dinosaurs. But you could do this with other different shapes and turn those shapes into circus cookies or animal crackers, or one of the my fellow designers on the Trinity Stamps team made some cheesy crackers with them. Okay, I went around the edge there with gathered twigs just to darken that edge and draw your eye in towards the center. And then I'm bringing in the new Simply Sentimental Friend die set, also from Trinity Stamps. And one of the scripty dies that says friend really matches this word sweet from the Sweet Holiday Sentiments die set. So I'm going to use both of those and die cut them from lightweight chipboard. Now this is what I'm talking about when I say lightweight chipboard. This was packaging that a die set came in. It's really lightweight, but it works great for this kind of die cut because it's white on one side. It's a little bit sturdier for this really thin die cut. I also added rip and stick sheets to the back, so they'll be stickers. I don't have to put glue on them. Then I pulled out a sheet of vellum, also from the Trinity Stamp shop, and I'm going to cut out a circle that I think is going to fit this sentiment really well from that vellum. And then I just remove the adhesive backing, and I can lay that die right on top of my vellum and press this on there. That's because the die cut happened to stay inside the die. So that was working in my favor for sure. And then I did the same thing with Sweet. It's on that circle, really cute. And I needed one little thing to finish off my sentiment, and that says For My, which is in the Simply Sentimental Friend stamp set. Now I'm bringing in Emergency Card Essentials die set number 1, it has these strips in it that are great for cutting out these little sentiments. I'm going to put the For My right above Sweet Friend to finish off the sentiment, and then I'm hiding my glue behind those die cuts to glue this vellum circle down to my card. I'll have a few of my cookies that overlap, and so that'll help hold it down as well too. So there you are. So cute. I love it, but we're going to add a few more things to this. We've got to have some embellishment. So these are the rainbow glitter enamel dots from Trinity Stamps, and the pink, that teal, and the yellow went really well with the sprinkles I had in on my cookies. So I added those, and they just make the card. Little embellishments really are that perfect finishing touch. This is going to go onto an A7 size card, so it's 5 by 7 inches. Therefore, my card front is a little bit smaller. I did trim it so that it would have that nice white border all the way around. So it is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then you've got that white border that I love. So there's my finished card number 1. We did a faux dry embossed background and faux cookies. Now let's move on to card number 2. We're going to take that piece where I die cut out all those cookies that I used on my background in card number 1, and we're going to turn it into a stencil. I'm putting it on the same color of cardstock, that craft color. This is like my favorite craft cardstock. I got it off of Amazon. It was in a huge ream. It's very heavy duty. I'm going to link it for you below so you can check it out. If you have trouble getting the tape off where it's ripping your paper, try just hitting that tape for a second with your heat gun and it'll peel right off. So I know I got some fuzz there, and I told you I would tell you a fix for it, so there it is. All right, so there's my stencil background. Now, I like when these look like they're cut from a bigger sheet. So you've got some that are halfway on the paper, halfway off. So I'm going to go around the edges with my stencil and just add a few partial dinosaurs there, and that's going to really complete this look. So again, I'm using that Gathered Twigs ink and a blending buddy brush from Trinity Stamps to do that. And there's the finished look. Now I have all this ink on my glass mat. I'm going to spritz it with water and pick it up with my paintbrush and splatter that right onto my card. I love the look of splatter, so you'll see me add it quite often on my backgrounds. And then I'll use a paper towel to pick up any excess moisture, and there's my look. Now these are like prehistoric and ancient, so I think the splatter really adds to that. Next, we're going to use these 2 dinosaurs and turn them into the focal point part of our card. So I just die cut them from plain cardstock, but to dress them up a little bit so they're more of that focal image, I'm going to spritz them with saltwater taffy Distress Oxide spray, and then this one is Salvaged Patina. So I tried to kind of match the color of my cardstock to my spray, and that just gives them this kind of speckledy look that I love. Now, in the Simply Sentimental Friend stamp set, there's a sentiment that says it takes a long time to grow an old friend, which I thought was perfect for these dinosaurs, so I had to use it. I'm stamping that with the Distress Oxide ink because that's what I have, and I really wanted it to match. I just had to stamp it a few times to really get a good impression because that ink isn't really made for stamping. So I'll bring out another strip here and find the right die that's going to fit this sentiment and die cut that. And then that'll be ready to go on my card. But also in this die set, there is this scalloped border that I love. It's so dainty. Look how cute. So I decided I would add that right below the sentiment on my card. Back to the Simply Sentimental Friends die set. Now, these dies are not only going to cut out the shadow layer and the letters, but that shadow layer is also the die to cut out the stamped words, which I'll show you on one of my next cards. All right, so I die cut my Salvage Patina kind of colored letters with rip and stick sheets on the back to stick them down to that fun foam base. And then I die cut a heart, and here I am making those dinosaurs the focal point, which is an obvious one, right? That's kind of the first idea that you get when you see a silhouette die set, is to make it the focal point of your card. So I did that on this card for sure. All right, so I'm trimming off the edge of my sentiment so it's flush with the edge of my card front, and now it's ready to go on my card base, that white A7 size. So it is a 10-inch piece of paper by 7 inches scored at 5 inches. To embellish this one, I'm going to use some white clay hearts, and I will add 3 in the upper right corner and 3 in the lower left corner. I like clusters of 3 for embellishments. You know, that's aesthetically pleasing. So that's what I did. And that card is all done. Isn't it cute? I love the speckles on those dinosaurs as the focal point of this card and the stenciled background. Love it. Okay, let's move on to card number 3. We have that same stencil that we had before. This time we're going to use it to spray. I love using my stencils for spray, and so I decided I had to use my sprays with this homemade stencil as well. So I'm going in with that saltwater taffy first, and I want that to really dry so I can do a second layer. So I'm just bringing in my heat gun, but I'm keeping it farther away and moving it quickly so I don't really burn it. Now for the second color, I'm just going to push the nozzle down in short little spurts so I get bigger drips, and layer this with that saltwater taffy and giving it that speckled look. It's so cool. Isn't that fun? We got one more color. I'm bringing back the white and adding more splatter on top of this. So I did let that Salvage Patina dry a little bit before bringing in this third color. And then that is the background for our third card. Isn't that fun? I love that speckled look. Okay, so there's the background. Here I'm showing you how you can heat that tape just a little bit and it'll peel right off. So if you have papers that resist the tape, you can do that. I'm going to trim down my panel so that it is that 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I wanted to die cut my dinosaur to really match that saltwater taffy. So I went ahead and just saturated a scrap piece of paper. Once that was dry, I die cut out the dinosaur shape I wanted to use on this card. And then we're going to do some diamond painting. My sister actually does the real thing. Real diamond painting, and she sent me these extras that she had, thinking I might want to use them to make a card because that's what I do. So I thought, well, let's just do diamond painting on a silhouette die cut. So I'm just putting a dot of glue and dropping in this diamond, and I decided to go with a color of paper that matched the diamonds really close because I didn't want a lot of white showing through. So that's why I tried to color match it. All right, so I'll just continue and fill this whole thing up. I'm not gonna lie, these kind of remind me of that weird candy that's like a gummy with nerds stuck to it. I've never actually eaten them because to me it sounds a little bit yucky. But if you've eaten them, let me know what you think of that candy. I'm dying to know. I'm more of a chocolate person. All right, so now I'm using the same die cut, but I flipped it over and I'm putting the diamonds on the back. You know what die cut always looks weird from the back side? Well, it's got that kind of raised up border. When we cover this with the diamonds, we're not going to see that at all. So I can have the reverse image of this dinosaur without doing anything, just covering it with these diamonds, which I found putting a whole line of glue was easier than doing dot, dot, dot. So if you decide to do this, there's my tips. Okay, I am cutting out now a large heart from the Layered Hearts die set from Trinity Stamps in that cool craft color. And then the sentiment I'm using is from the T-riffic Dinos stamp set. I'm going to use this again on the next card too and stamp one of those dinosaurs. I'm going to emboss this. You can see I got a ton of anti-static powder. Sometimes if you prime your tool too much, you'll get too much of that powder coming out, but it's still going to work. I just needed to stamp it a few extra times. And then once I emboss this or, heat set that powder, I can buff off any of that excess anti-static powder that I don't want to show. I'm also going to go around this with just the leftover ink that gathered twigs that's on my blending buddy brush and do that around the edge, and of course a little splatter doesn't hurt. So I'm adding that. It's going to play into that really fun sprayed background that we made at the beginning. So there's the heart ready to go, and here's my dinosaurs. Now the glue's all dry. You can see how cool they look. I'll add these to my heart, and now because I did that reverse die cut, I can have my two dinosaurs facing each other, and I think that's really cute. So there they are, ready to go on the card. I am showing you now my sentiment that's going to go with your T-riffic. So it's going to say your T-riffic friend. Isn't that fun? But here's the thing. 2 of the dies in this set say friends. You can easily alter this and make it say friend if that's what fits your card, just by cutting off that end of the die, that shadow layer. You can easily cut off the S with one snip, and it doesn't look like you did something to it, right? It's made or designed really well, so you can alter it to say friend. So there we go. We have that ready to go. There is my layered heart set. I die cut out the largest one this time so I'd have a layer, a vellum layer to go behind my heart. I think that looks really precious. We'll add that to our card base and the word friend. Also take note that the tittle or the dot to the I is separate on this particular die set. So it's an easy thing to lose, so be careful with that. I'm going to layer all of these up, but I decided I really wanted that top layer to be popped up. So I brought in some more craft foam in yellow. I happen to have this piece that had adhesive on the back, and this is going to save me on not wasting foam squares, not wasting foam tape, and I cut it a little bit smaller so you can't see too much of that yellow around the edge. Next, I am bringing in some heart-shaped baubles with this iridescent finish. They're like mocha or something. I will link them for you below. And adding those as my embellishment because they match this craft paper like perfectly. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? And it's a perfect little touch for this card. Isn't that fun? The diamond painting. I love it. So there's card number 3. We did a stencil technique with sprays and we did diamond painting. So now let's move on to card number 4. This is the final one. You've made it. We're going to take that background, that stencil, and we're going to turn this into a shaker card, but we kind of need to save it because we have those spots on there where the tape was. That's not looking cute. So I'm going to bring in that new distress color. Oh my gosh, the name of it's leaving me. Scorched Timber. Thanks for waiting. And I'm going to spray it all over. It's a dark color. So it's going to kind of cover that up and we're going to give it more of a kind of neutral look. I am drying this with my heat gun and splattering it at the same time to give it a really I want to give it this like ancient fossil look. So I'm spraying, drying, dabbing, getting those splatters on there. It's looking really cool. It's kind of masking where the tape was, but you know, you and I still know it's there. So I really concentrated the drips of water in that area, trying to hide that. And then I'm also going to come in with the new Distress Spritz in Walnut Stain. This has got mica in it, and it's going to leave some dark mica spots that are nice and shimmery. Doesn't that just look so aged? I love this look. So we've kind of saved our paper now. I'm going to flip it over, add some adhesive. I did some tape runner and wet adhesive, and because I really want this to hold down in all those little spots. And then I'm going to bring in these brand new sparkle spot embellishments. We've got watermelon, fuchsia, lime, and orange. I'm going to use those as a mix for my shaker, but I needed a little something extra for this card. So I made a frame with some rectangle dies that's going to go around my saved stencil here because some of my dinosaurs are really close to the edge and I wouldn't have room for foam tape. So adding this extra piece is going to allow me extra room to hide my foam tape that I need to make a shaker. So I've mixed all those sparkly bits together. Now the sparkle spots are completely flat. I love that, and they're so sparkly, but I also like something that moves around really well. So I brought back some more of those shaker pop beads in orange, pearl, pink, and green, and they're kind of like a darker tone of those sparkle spots, so they're going to look really good all mixed in there together. So now you can see I'm adding foam tape. This is thinner foam tape, but it's not going to be seen because I added that pink frame, and it's going to give me that layered look that I like on top of my card instead of on the bottom of my card, how I normally have the white border around the edge of my card. Now I've got the pink border on top. So it'll all work out. But I also have these micro beads that are clear that I added to my mix. I love those. They're almost invisible in there, but they add a great sound and they really keep things moving and they add a little extra element of shine. I removed my backing off of the foam tape and I like to add a little glue in the cracks of my foam tape, especially when I use those micro beads so they don't escape. It's kind of like putting caulking on tile work, right? We don't want any cracks for anything to get in or out. So there is my shaker. It is so fun. Loving how that turned out. So now I'm going to add this dinosaur. He's got the balloons tied around him from the T-riffic Dinos set. This is another new set from Trinity. for their latest release. Their release just came out in January, at the very end of January. So I've been using a lot of the new stuff. I love it all. It's so fun. I'm sure you've already seen my waffle videos. I have 2 of them. That's also from this release. So check those out if you haven't. So now I'm just going to color up this dinosaur so that he coordinates well with the sparkle spots in my shaker card. So G14 is what I'm using to color the entire dinosaur. That's my lightest color. Then I brought in G17 to be that darker shadow layer. So I'm adding in those shadows now, and then I'll just put that wherever I want things to be a little bit darker. So at the bottom, I keep my highlights towards the top. Once that's done, I'll bring back my G14 and go over that to really blend that out so I don't have like a harsh line. And these colors blend pretty well together, and then I think it goes really well with the green that I chose because I have 2 greens in my shaker mix, that lighter lime green and then the shaker pop beads were a darker green. So I think it complements both of them. For the largest balloon, I'm using RV04 for the lightest color of my balloon. I'm really trying to tie in that dark fuchsia pink color. I always tend to kind of swatch them on my paper before I color to really make sure I'm loving it before I go in. I even have a color chart, and I do refer to my color chart, but oftentimes just coloring it out on the piece of paper, thinking about it for a second, saves me from maybe a color combination that I don't love. So I did bring in RV06 to really help blend that out, and I'm really loving how this is coordinating so well with that pink border around my card and the shaker elements. So then next I needed to add in some orange to go with those orange elements in the shaker mix. And so I did a few of the balloons in that, and this is really simple coloring because they're so small. I really just used 2 colors for this, and it worked really well. And then I've got the 2 other balloons left there. So I decided I would do green on those, but I'm going to come in with a little bit lighter green than the green of my dinosaur. And this color, YG03, is the same one I'm going to use for his belly, his like toenails, and his little spikes. Should I call them? Yeah, spikes. Yeah. So there we have it, getting that all finished up, and then he's going to be ready to go. He's going to look so cool on this card because he color coordinates. And I like, especially on balloons, but pretty much any of my stamped and colored images, white highlights. So I have my white gel pen here. I'm just adding some lines and dots to complete the look and really bring him to life. Isn't he cute? His little smile and the balloons, you know, like balloons could really lift up a dinosaur, but it's just fun because of that. All right, so I'll die cut that out, and then I'm going to stamp a sentiment from this set, which says, "You make my heart soar." Oh, isn't it sweet? So this set really can be used for Valentine's, even though it can be used for so many other things. I like these Valentines that are punny, they're super cute, and they don't scream Valentines, right? They make for really fun cards. So there I stamped the word friend and die cut it out with that shadow layer versus die cutting out the word friend and sticking it down to the shadow layer. And that's what I love about the Simply Sentimental line from Trinity Stamps, is that you have that option to stamp or to die cut. Isn't that fun? All right, so there we've added all 3 elements, gluing them right down to the shaker card. And then to help mask those spots where the tape is, that is where I'm going to add my rainbow sparkle enamel dots. And then this is getting glued down to my 5x7 card. You see it's going to fit perfectly edge to edge with my shaker because I've got that frame on the top that really saved me and really helped this card come together and be a shaker. So that's card number 4, using your die cuts to create windows that you can use to create a shaker card. So I hope that you've got some ideas to maybe use with some silhouette dies. I mean, the ideas just kept coming to me once I started playing with these dies, when in truth, when I first got the die set, I was like, I'm not sure what to do with this. Once I started, I couldn't stop. So I encourage you to get out your dies, just play and have fun, and always think how you can use the negative piece. Or maybe you're trying to use the negative piece and you have this leftover die cut. How can I use this and incorporate it in a new way? Which is what I did, and I think this one is my favorite. Circus cookies, they're so cute. But I had so much fun making these, and I hope you had fun watching today and maybe learned a little something new. I want to say thank you for stopping by and supporting my channel with your likes, by subscribing, by clicking my links, by joining my channel. I appreciate you so much. I hope that you have a very blessed day and happy stamping. Bye.